example that which you have shared from Thailand, okay, I would like to be a farmer in Thailand. So we can transform that. Why not? Yes, I can be a farmer even in India, rich farmer, and to be an example. So with the learnings that we are having here, definitely with our youth community or with our rural community, we will definitely take it forward. So thank you so much for this opportunity provided by CIRDAP for all of us. I'd like to say that.
Yes. Any other comments? So you can, please. Yes.
Yeah. Want to say that?
Question?
Yeah.
No, I'm not.
I
I like your presentation. I learned from your many information, and I keep very much all of the presentation, but I like your presentation. But I sit here and I understand, but maybe your dialect, I can understand everything everybody say, but now you say and I understand everything you say, and I have been today.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, yes, please. I just want to say, Thais, Vietnamese, Laotian, even Indonesians, they are different kind of animals altogether, because they are struggling with English. Unlike the Fijian, unlike the Indian, unlike other Bangladeshi, also they're very good. But our region, except Malaysia, is the only country in Southeast Asia who speak English very well. The rest of us are struggling like anything. Please.
That's it. First of all, we also like to thank you so much for your participation. The only thing about the idea for trying to transform the rural communities in my view to really share. A few days back we have been delivered with information about preserving what we would like to develop. We also are standing on the platform of trying to preserve our natural resources. So the main questions that we are struggling with ourselves is how we can pursue the development programs that we have while we are standing on the platform of trying to preserve that natural resource that we have, which is a very major challenge that we are facing. It would be more realistic for us if we can just move on and try and share what are the ways that are there from our country that are pursuing the development right now. At the same time looking at trying to preserve the natural resources, like the presentation from Thailand this morning.
Yes.
It's quite very interesting.
Yes.
On the way they preserve their environment through tourism, and which I can say that would be a very learning perspective for us. How about development? Their infrastructure like coming, and we would like to pursue for brightening our countries when we are standing on the platform.
Sure.
That's awesome.
Yes. Let me just say a few words about this. I don't think it's a question, but how to reflect on this very critical issue. Now, at the personal level, to be honest with you, I'm the one who always have bitter feelings about this so-called, advanced development, transformation of a region into industrial areas of the world. If you happen to go to Indonesia, you will arrive at the Cengkareng International Airport. We call it Soekarno-Hatta International Airport. Now it's a very good airport that I heard from the BBC program, the 8th busiest airport in the world. The 8th busiest airport in the world. But for me, all this big building, sparkling light in the evening and blah blah blah, it's much more a sad story about it. Because I was born there. The airport they built was my very village. I was born, I grew up with my grandfathers flying kites, harvest or paddy field. All the beautiful memories that I have is gone with the airport. It's gone with the airport. Even if I go there now, I couldn't feel it was my village. Because as you said correctly about this Bonram areas, it became a Chinatown. If you go out in the evening, you don't see your own village people there. You don't find where is my neighbors? Where's my old friends? You feel like you are, walking along the road in Hong Kong or in Beijing. You don't feel it's your own village. You are completely uprooted from your village. And the second thing is that when I joined CIRDAP for the first time, and I did for interview, Pasandi was there also, I told my interviewers, to be very, very frank to you, I said, I'm personally in doubt whether fighting or promoting rural development is not a lost agenda. Are we sure that we can do something about preserving our rural areas, maintaining our rural areas, promoting our areas? Is it not a lost fight? These are big questions. But politically speaking, we all know very well, farmers is majority with minority voice. Everything, the policy that we make, define, decided by the urban bias policymakers. And the governments everywhere always have one biggest question: how to promote economic growth. 60%, 6%, 7%, every government in the world under pressure. How to continue or how to increase production, how to promote economic growth. And economic growth's main engines is industrialization. If you don't bring factories to your region, if you don't bring, infrastructures, there's not growth. The question is that the biggest question is how to do both at the same time, preserving your natural beauty and promoting growth. It's kind of impossible combination that we may think about. But at the end of the day, the biggest question is always, this is more like academic exercises in the university and talking like professors. For whose benefit is the development we're talking about? If you go to Jakarta airport, for me personally, that is not the kind of thing we would like to have. Because the entire community who live in that area gone, disappear. You don't find your old friends there. You don't find your aunties there anymore. Because they have to go away from that region. They can't live in an area where they become strangers in their own land. You cannot live in an area where your neighbors is the person you hardly knows. And you don't even feel that your neighbor is yours friend, because, I'm sorry to say, ethnically, everything is different from you. So is this the kind of development we are pursuing? And one more thing that I think you have to bear in mind. When development takes place, are we preparing our local farmers to deal with this issue, to cope with the new challenges? I'm sorry to say, very few policymakers think about that. When they build airport, what they have in their minds? To give money to the local communities. Let them get the money. After that, we don't know what happened with them. And the problem with the money they receive is that they're not ready with the money. The amount of money they receive is so much that they can't think what to do with the money. In my country, we have we have regions called Papua. This is the least developed region of Indonesia. I'm going to talk about my own country. The least developed region of Indonesia. The populations for the entire province is only 1.2 million people. And they live in an island called Papua, which is the second biggest island of Indonesia. Java, we have 5 biggest islands. Java is the smallest of 5. Java has 60 million people, or 70 million people. This island, the second biggest island of Borneo, has only 1.2 million people. 2 persons per square miles. Only 2 persons. I always tell my friend, don't die there. You will die alone. But they are the biggest world producer of copper. Yeah, Papua. The biggest world producer of copper. Freeport has massive mining forms there. So the question is that how do we transform these people? When they buy your land, what happened is that the first thing they go to the bar. And they would drink like anything. When the bar owner told him that we are about to close, what they said, don't close. I'll pay you for the next 3 days. So they spend the entire money for this kind of activities. And even when they sell their land, we joke about that, they still claim the land. The company or you buy land there, and you have every letters, you have the certificate, they still claim their land, even though they have already sold it to you. What they say, the land, the certificate is yours, but the land is mine. You can say that. So what I want to say to you is that this is, of course, the biggest charities. But in small way, as what Thailand does, it's a reflection that you can still preserve your culture, you can still preserve your natural beauty, but at the same time, you can still have the capacity to improve the living standard of your people in the very region. And people still feel, this is my land, this is my environment, this is my village where I grew up. This is not a strange place for me. This is a place where I grew up. So it's your, again, it's your job as a policy maker, decision makers, how to have a situation where both sides win. Maybe investor will come to build hotel in that area. It can happen. But at the same time, people in that area also can benefit from this kind of developments without changing the entire landscape of the regions. That's very difficult choices, very difficult policies, because you are under pressure from any corner of the capital of the country to do something quickly deliver. But at the end of the day, we always say that only few of us become a hero. That's why hero is not many, very small numbers. And if you can, persist fighting for this one, you can be the hero of, at least for your own communities. Yes, please.
Sir,
Yes, please.
we are very proud and happy to meet you in this forum. You are the captain and leader of CIRDAP. We are always fighting for develop our rural development and livelihoods. You are very busy person. Though you have given more time spent to us, it is our proud. We have learned many things from you. I think it will be fruitful and useful to us for our next journey or future. I think our bondage and communication will be running on to you next day also. Thank you very much from the participant for giving us valuable time. Thank you very much.
What is the thing, maybe small thing or big thing that you say, this is the thing I learned? Because you have to bring something when you go home.
Sir, I know one thing. CIRDAP has one more rural development, but it has any legal framework or common mandate or rule to develop the rural development her members.
Well, in fact, when CIRDAP was established in July 1939, CIRDAP was established with 3 basic mandates. I want to talk each of one, but the fundamental thing is that CIRDAP has to play a role as a forum where member countries can learn from each other. Where member countries can learn from each other to improve the livelihood of the people, especially who live in the rural areas, especially the poor section of the people in the areas. And this is the goal that keep on running again and again. That's why this very forum is actually one of the way of doing this, learning, sharing each other's best practices or knowledge or skill that being developed in one particular part of the countries. We must admit that most of the programs we have we have in India. I think out of 6 we have 4. We have 4 in India. Of course, India has done a lot. There's no denying about it. A country of almost 1.2 billion people can feed the entire citizen is a great achievement. And India has moved very well from the last 50 years, for example. But nevertheless, I still believe that we also need to learn from each other. I'm sure we can learn from Bangladesh a lot. The very fact that Bangladesh continue to produce a good harvest of agricultural products a year and have been able to successfully transform the country from the deficit agricultural product to a surplus agricultural product country is a remarkable achievement. And we also can learn from other countries like Fiji, for example. You know very well that Fiji is a country lived by sea, and the rise of this sea level is always a threat. Even if you read Dhaka newspaper recently, the Daily Star, the capital of Indonesia, Jakarta, is sinking. Getting down and down and down every year because the level of water that they pump from the ground to the earth is so much that the city is sinking. So we can learn from the experiences how to cope with this, calamities coming from disaster. There is no more country, for example, that can teach us a lot more than any country in dealing with disaster except Philippines. Philippines is so friendly with this, disaster. Every year they have this typhoon, that typhoon. I joke with the Philippine Secretary of Agrarian Reform that yes, in the past, every disaster in the Philippine typhoon, they name after women. And women complain in the Philippines, why you name this typhoon, whether Eva or any female name. You should actually to make male names kind of disaster. It's unfair. So if we can learn from each other, it can transform our farmers. Yes, I told you already, if we can, this is even my obsession, possibly my last obsession because my tenure will complete by July 2016. If we can bring one pious, cook expert of how to transform this jambura skin into a marketable product, I cannot imagine how much will the farmer in Bangladesh get the benefit of having this very basic skill. How we can learn from the experience of these Indonesian farmers to make papor from the banana fruit skin, not banana, the banana fruit skin. The farmer in Bangladesh can be earning a lot from things that they just usually throw away, kind of product. So this is the thing that we have to do a lot in the future. We cannot talk about funding project with millions of dollars, but we can do something that can be really applicable at the grassroots level. With a very simple, small technology, our farmers can generate more income. That's what we're supposed to do in the future. Thank you.
Sir,
Yes, please.
sir, I am from group of island called Andaman Nicobar
Yes,
Islands.
yes.
Though it is altogether 570 plus,
Yes.
out of which only 38 are inhabited.
So, how big is the population? How big is the
Population altogether 4 lakhs, 3
4
lakhs
lakhs.
79.
Okay.
After listening to the Phuket,
Yes,
suggestion
yes,
of the
yes,
tourism,
yes.
so geographically, Andaman Nicobar Island is very much adjacent to Phuket also.
Yes, yes.
So whenever we are having any problem in landing, so our flight used to go to Phuket.
Yes, yes.
So I have learned the thing. Apart from that, as you discussed and explained us regarding the chips from banana
Yeah.
peel,
Yes.
we are working on the project called extracting fiber from